didn't get what you were saying about absence. Before we went to this last sector, Claude was sharing, said something about absence.
Well, then let's use the word absence. Just that word. So the word absence, there is a book from, I think, Jeff Foster, that's called An Extraordinary Absence. That would be a perfect definition of this realization. Because it is not something that Didier or Gilles or Michael get one, and when it's something that's removed, a loss, in absence, something minus, instead of becoming a problem or becoming a kind of total void or total loss, to be extraordinary would be the first description of what this absence brings. It's like, wow, it's extraordinary, because with this absence in my life, so it's still the absence of something that I called Didier before, life goes on, Didier goes on. Things happen all the time, and it's beautiful. So it's like, you have a nice painting on the wall, like you have right now here. So that's the presence of the painting. And then, while you're having a walk, somebody takes the painting, and then you come back, and then you realize, oh, the painting is gone. So it's the realization of the absence of the painting. Okay? So, and that's a beautiful discovery. It's that, okay, now the situation is the painting is not there anymore. I mean, it's a metaphor. Huh? And what I'm proposing here is to go one step further and to realize the absence of the presence or the absence of the painting. Because it doesn't matter. Painting can be there, it can be removed. It's not about... Because the absence of the painting will still define the painting. Will still say, there was a painting, there is no more painting. So the painting is still existing. So if the absence of Didier is felt as an absence, which is a beautiful thing, maybe very light, very joyful in a way, but it's still, and maybe that's an answer to Claude, to live that as an absence of Claude is in a way recreating Claude in the story by its absence. I was not there, it was great. Okay? But could we now try to go one step further and maybe, and the mind cannot really grasp it, it's more intuitively, that as long as the absence of something is there, there is also the presence of the thing. By implication, by inference. Okay? So now if, let's say, the forgetfulness is so deep that there is no more remembrance of the presence of the painting or of this absence. It's not there, it's not part of the story anymore. That's the real absence I'm talking about. So when Claude wakes up in the morning, and by the fact of realizing its own absence, he creates a presence of Claude. So what about waking up in the morning and that the absence is so deep that there is even no noticing that the Claude was absent or present or both. That's what Ramesh happened. For Ramesh, it happened in a way that it could not notice that something disappeared without any warning. So it's a kind of forgetfulness. It's a forgetting something that doesn't exist. This duality between how I exist as Didier, I don't exist as Didier, I exist as Didier. Because the I don't exist as Didier, that's the non-dual tool. It's not true. Because it points to something that doesn't exist. So the non-dual message is bullshit. I'm using it all the time because it's a tool to extract this information of a possibility, another possibility. But then when it's the absence is realized, then it's even the absence of the absence and the presence. That's where the story of Claude coming and leaving and coming and leaving cannot happen anymore, because there is such a forgetfulness of this pattern. Because it's a belief, it's just a belief. So it's a memory, habit, belief, whatever. When this pattern is forgotten, like when we believed about Santa Claus at some point in our life, somebody told us, I'm sorry, the Santa Claus doesn't exist, our dad or mom, and we got shocked. So we realized the absence of Santa Claus. But let's say a few days or few weeks after having realized the absence of Santa Claus, is Santa Claus popping up in our life? Are the reindeers coming in front of the house to be cancelled later on? No, the whole story goes away. So it's not even an absence, it's the absence of the absence. Within that truth of the absence, there is another deeper, wider possibility, is the absence of the absence. And then it's like a circle. It's going back to where we started and see it for the first time. That's T.S. Eliot. You see? So our journey is about exploration, and after all our exploration, we will go back to where we started. That's T.S. Eliot saying, basically, the actual realization we are talking about is very similar to the starting point. That means the dude is back into the story, and is very much available and active, and it doesn't pretend to be a nobody or somebody, because the whole thing has been forgotten. It's a total, deep forgetfulness of all the patterns of identification. And still life goes on, and actually much better, because the whole suffering part is gone then, what I define as a suffering. All these elements that are so disturbing in our lives through the fact of this feeling of being separated, being not enough, being wanting to merge with the one, and all that, this is gone. But is it not so simple? I mean, do you see any complication into that? Can we intuitively try to think, and it's not even the thinking process, but feel an action that is not our action, that is not for ourselves, that is almost impossible to understand that, but that's what is required here. It's the total letting go of our self-concern, of our self-fulfillment, of our self-image, of our self, whatever. You put everything after self. So when this part is gone, I would say that the closest possibility is into intuitively looking at the situation in an impersonal way. That means not related to something, more like a possibility to explore, despite all the conclusions that are going to come. Because that's scary for the so-called person, the body-mind, or the entity that's supposed to be there. There are some conclusions that are tough. The fear can creep in. So looking at the message, the simple message of non-duality, saying there is just this presence aware of itself, knowing itself, which is peace. There is just this. And forget about what you can get out of that, as Didier, as anybody here, what you can grab, what you can make of it, what you can understand. There is no way to understand anything. There is no way to grab anything. There is no way to. And when this is clear, when the picture is clear, it becomes obvious that this added information, which is called Didier, never existed in the first place. So it doesn't concern you. Nobody here is going to get anything, because that's not the way it works. But at the same time, saying that, does it really matter?
That's the absence of the absence.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Beautiful. Am I experiencing identity?
Yeah.
So, yes, but not the way you might think about it. The way it works, it's go back to childhood. Go back to childhood. When you were small, 5, 6, 7 years old, still not totally into rational mind, into and you're on the floor of your bedroom, of your room, okay, and you have 2 pieces of wood, and you put them as in a cross, and you fly your plane, and you tell a story of a plane flying around the room, and you're so immersed that the plane exists by itself. It's a story. It's something that you're creating, and there is still the faint knowing that it's not really true, but at the same time you're engrossed into the story. It's still a beautiful story. It's not less, it's even more. So that's, if you feel that, if you touch that, that's how identification can be. That means I'm pretending to be Didier in a world, and in that pretension I allow everybody to pretend. And some, they forget they pretend, so they play as if it's a reality, but it doesn't matter. What comes back is this level of reality that is not nothing. It is something which is, you can even call myself Didier, but it has the taste of a supposition. Do you see that? It's supposed, and in that supposition, if the game is played, because it's a kindergarten, I mean it's a garden with children playing. In that supposition, there is a total play. There is no like, oh, I'm detached from my actions, my world, my role as a dad, as a businessman, etc. No, it's the play is played fully, but with this element of then re-entering the dude inside the circle, being supposed to be there and playing fully the role. You see, and that works, but there is no more possibility of reappropriation as the center part, at the center of the circle. I mean, in my experience, again, I'm not saying that it's always the case, but then when there is no pretension, there is no possibility of identification with anything. Just like all of you, actually, when there is nothing happening and there's most of the time a beautiful scene or beautiful music or beautiful event, there is just this happening, and there is no more me listening or watching or in the movie. There is an absence in the movie, no? You're in the cinema theater, if the movie is good, we're talking about an absence, and that makes the show. That is the show. Without this absence, there is no real show, actually. this search, this inquiry, this is not something that somebody does for himself and achieve by himself to get something for himself. And in the playfulness of pretending, playfulness of forgetting, because we explore about the forgetfulness, this pattern of limitation, this pattern of separation, there is an element that becomes more and more alive. And that doesn't need to be, an explosive event and whatever, but life has a different taste. A taste that is brighter, deeper in a way. Because there is nothing blocking the information, there is no filter. It feels vulnerable sometimes. So yes, to be serious about it would be, in a way, again, counterproductive. Would be again, and when I'm saying serious, it's not passionate. There are two things. One is the passion, and I think all of us here, we are passionate about it. The passion, it's a flame, it's burning, it's making its thing, it's cleaning up, it's there. That's doesn't need to go, but to be serious about it. So it's a playful passion, which is going to kind of go around this hamster wheel we spoke about today. Huh? And again, it's not a prescription that you have to do this, to that. It's a description of something that might happen. And why will it happen now? Just because of today's meeting. And maybe something will move, nothing will move. We don't know. But life is always giving new inputs, new elements. So why the output will be never changing? Usually that's a pretension. Oh, if I don't do anything, nothing is going to change. This is bullshit.